The Chilean Congress has approved a bill to hold a constitutional convention election across 2 days in April. In the U.S., Minnesota Judge Peter Cahill reinstated a third-degree murder charge against Dereck Chauvin, the former police officer on trial for the death of George Floyd. And the European Union's medicines regulator stated there is no indication that the Oxford AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccine is linked to an increased risk of blood clots after several nations suspended its use. Hello and welcome to teleSUR English. I am Estefania Bravo from the headquarters of Quito in Ecuador. This is From the South. The Chilean Congress has approved a bill to hold the Constitutional Convention election across 2 days in April. The bill was approved by 119 votes in favor, 19 against, and 7 abstentions. After previously receiving the endorsement of the Senate, the election will now be held on April 10th and 11th to select the members of the Constitutional Convention that will draft a new constitution. In this sense, several parliamentarians requested free public transportation be made available on both days in order to guarantee the mobility of the electorate. Peru has recorded its highest daily COVID-19 death toll since its first appearance in the country. The Ministry of Health issued a new update on the number of deaths, which now stands at more than 48,000. According to the report, health authorities announced the extension of the state of emergency until September 2nd, 2021, in order to continue fighting the virus. And still in Peru, the country received a first batch of the Pfizer-BioNTech COVID-19 vaccines free of charge via the World Health Organization-led COVAX initiative. Since February 9th, Peru has vaccinated over 355,000 health workers with at least 1 dose of a vaccine produced by the Chinese lab Sinopharm. Peru's vaccination program started following the controversial revelations about the unauthorized vaccination of several public officials and their relatives, including former President Martín Vizcarra. According to health officials, the goal is to immunize some 25 million adults over the year. The vaccination of the elderly, police, and military began on Monday.
Peru becomes the second country in Latin America to receive Pfizer vaccines, this time through the COVAX system. We are trying to accelerate the pace of the vaccination process, and that will depend on the availability of vaccines.
Moving on to Colombia, heavy rains in the city of Cali caused serious damage according to rescue agencies and the Municipal Risk Management Office. According to a report by the coordinator of the Operations and Telematics Center of the Volunteer Firefighters Department, Marco Gomez, the rains affected more than 29 neighborhoods in the eastern zone of the city due to flooding in the town, Coliseum, and other roads. 3 operatives were carried out to remove organic material that was washed into several areas. A new in-depth piece of investigative journalism from declassified UK revealed the extensive ties between the British Foreign Office and the Bolivian coup plotters who ousted former President Evo Morales back in November of 2019. The report reveals that the UK Embassy in Bolivia co-founded a project from 2019 to 2020, which sought to optimize Bolivia's lithium exploration and production using British technology, just after the coup regime led by Janine Áñez assumed power. According to the report, in March of 2020, the British Embassy organized an international event with Bolivia's Ministry of Mining hosting over 300 global extractive executives, including former British Army veterans, private security contractors, and Fortune 500 CEOs. The report continues by detailing the UK's long fight to court the Bolivian government under the movement towards socialism leadership, including efforts to connect the lithium triangle that comprehends Argentina, Chile, and Bolivia with the London Metals Exchange dating back to 2017. Social movements and civil society organizations in Haiti mobilized this Thursday in front of the United States Embassy to demand that the U.S. government suspend support for President Jovenel Moïse, whom they stress is illegitimately clinging on to power. Diverse groups condemned the fact that despite widespread demands from the population, President Moïse's election plans continue to be supported by the international community. Women's organizations pointed out that citizens are victims of all kinds of violence and denounced the international community for its silent complicity. The United Nations recently reiterated its support for the parliamentary election process promoted by Moïse to be held in September. However, popular organizations have stressed that the elections are not possible in the current context marked by increasing security. In the United States, Minnesota Judge Peter Cahill reinstated a third-degree murder charge against Dereck Chauvin, the former police officer on trial for the death of George Floyd. Prosecutors had asked the Hennepin County judge hearing the case to reinstate the third-degree murder charge against Chauvin, who has pleaded not guilty to charges of second-degree murder and manslaughter in the high-profile trial. In a statement issued on Wednesday, Minnesota Attorney General Keith Ellison said the third-degree murder charge, in addition to the other charges, reflects the gravity of the allegations against Chauvin. According to experts, a third-degree murder charge could make it easier for prosecutors to land a conviction carrying a maximum sentence of 25 years.
The Supreme Court, the Court of Appeals has said in a precedential opinion specifying the single person rule applies to third-degree murder. I feel bound by that, and I feel it would be an abuse of discretion not to grant the motion. So, murder in the third degree is reinstated as originally charged. In this case, this is not a decision as to the other three defendants who are set for trial at a later date, and we'll address that later.
Moving on, the United Nations has warned of the risk of famine in many countries across the world due to the coronavirus pandemic. During a meeting of the UN Security Council on Food Security, Secretary General Antonio Guterres reported that over 30 million people in more than 36 countries are just one step away from a declaration of famine, and immediate action is needed. Guterres also reported that 88 million people already suffered famine by the end of 2020, an increase of 20% over the previous year. In Romania, authorities said on Thursday that a rescue operation is underway in the Black Sea after a cargo ship sank, leaving 2 dead and 1 missing. The Volgobalt 179 had a 13-member crew on board when it left the port city of Rostov-on-Don on Saturday and was expected to reach Romania's port city of Constanta on Thursday evening. An SOS call was received by the GSP Falcon, a private vessel, at 4:40 a.m. on Thursday. 10 crew members were rescued and received medical care on board the GSP Falcon. As the search for the missing crew member continued, a helicopter evacuation took one of the rescued crew members to a hospital in Constanta. The cause of the sinking has not yet been determined. In Indonesia, a bus carrying dozens of pilgrims plunged down a steep ravine on Java Island, killing at least 27 people, including junior high school students, on Thursday. The bus carrying 66 passengers was traveling on a winding and poorly lit road when it plunged down the 20-meter, authorities said. Rescuers worked through the night using cranes to pluck injured survivors after the fatal crash late on Wednesday in West Java's Sumedang district. The driver and the teenage passengers were among the dead, while 31 people survived the accident and were referred to the Sumedang General Hospital for further examination.
We have to wait for the search and rescue team, which is coming with extra equipment to extract victims' bodies, because the victims are trapped in the wreckage, so we need tools such as grinders or chainsaw. We have been focusing on evacuating survivors. We have just managed to evacuate 3 people, an adult man and 2 women. One of them is aged about 5 to 6 years old.
Survivors from a small Japanese seaside city remember the 2011 Tohoku earthquake and the tsunami, which devastated the country's northeastern seaboard and sparked one of the worst nuclear disasters in history. A deadly 9.0 magnitude earthquake struck off Japan's northeastern coast on March 11th of 2011, triggering a devastating tsunami and a nuclear meltdown in the Fukushima prefecture, which left over 15,000 people dead. Fukushima Soma was hit by the tsunami, claiming 484 lives and destroying over 5,000 homes in the city, and residents saw in terror as the tumultuous waves destroyed everything in its path. The citizens said reconstruction will not be complete until the damaged nuclear power plant is fully decommissioned. The European Union's medicines regulator has stated there is no indication that the Oxford AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccine is linked to an increased risk of blood clots after several nations suspended its use. The statement came after a number of countries, including Denmark and Norway, suspended the use of the jab, following reports that a small number of people had developed clots after receiving the vaccine. The rollout of the AstraZeneca COVID vaccine in Denmark, Estonia, Lithuania, and Luxembourg has been suspended as health authorities investigate a possible serious side effect in the form of fatal blood clots. On Thursday, Danish Health Minister Magnus Heunicke tweeted that the country would be suspending the use of the Anglo-Swedish vaccine, which has already come under intense scrutiny across Europe and in other parts of the world. The news came after the European Medicines Agency published its view on a number of side effects supposedly linked to the administration of the AstraZeneca vaccine in Austria. Norway's health authorities said Thursday they were suspending the use of the AstraZeneca's COVID-19 vaccine as a precaution following Denmark's decision to do so over fears of a link to blood clots.
Due to the secondary effects and this death in Denmark caused by a blood clot after having received the AstraZeneca vaccine, we have decided in Norway to pause the use of the AstraZeneca vaccine. We have no data indicating that a link has been established between the vaccination and the episode reported in Denmark, but we are following the precautionary principle.
On Thursday, Hungary reported more than 8,300 new COVID-19 cases, the highest daily total since the beginning of the pandemic. Officials said the increase in new infections is likely due to a variant of the virus first discovered in Great Britain, which has led to a sharp surge in new cases, hospitalizations, and deaths. There are currently more patients being treated in hospitals than at any other time during the pandemic, putting a strain on Hungary's healthcare system. A new round of lockdown restrictions were introduced on Monday to curb the surge, including the closure of most businesses, kindergartens, and primary schools. Also on Thursday, an additional 450,000 doses of China's Sinopharm vaccine arrived in Budapest. In Estonia, authorities imposed a partial lockdown after its per capita coronavirus infection rate rose to the second highest in the world. The new restrictions will stay in effect at least until April 11th, and the government will decide whether to extend them depending on the situation in hospitals. Under the new measures, all schools will be shut down and parents will be asked to send their children to kindergartens only if absolutely necessary. Only shops selling basic necessities will stay open and restaurants will only offer takeaway services. This Thursday, the European Union authorized the use of the U.S. pharmaceutical giant Johnson & Johnson's one-shot coronavirus vaccine. The decision comes after the bloc's medical regulator gave its approval. The president of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, said on Twitter that more safe and effective vaccines are coming to the market, adding that with the number of doses the EU has ordered, they could vaccinate up to 200 million people in the EU. The director of the Africa Centers for Disease Control and Prevention urged continental capacity to produce COVID-19 vaccines as Africa tries to vaccinate more of its 1.3 billion people.
Due to the secondary effects and this death in Denmark caused by a blood clot after having received the AstraZeneca vaccine, we have decided in Norway to pause the use of the AstraZeneca vaccine. We have no data indicating that a link has been established between the vaccination and the episode reported in Denmark, but we are following the precautionary principles.
There are reactions in Abidjan after the announcement of the death of Ivorian Prime Minister Hamed Bakayoko at the age of 56. He died in a hospital in Germany as a result of cancer 8 months after the death of his predecessor.
Everything is quiet. It's shocking. It really hurts. Everyone's hurting. Look at all the newsstands. Everyone's looking to see if it is true. The rumor was going around and now it's confirmed. People are down. It hurts. We have lost a relative, a man, our brother, our Ivorian brother. That's all we can remember. It hurts.
He was a role model for the youth, and it really hurts me a lot. It's really sad that we lose great men like that. I am really in mourning.
And with that, we've come to the end of this news brief. But before we go, here at teleSUR English, we would like to give a very warm welcome to the viewers joining us from Namibia, where our content is now available through the Namibian Broadcasting Corporation, NBC. Our welcome and thank you for joining us in this communications project for the peoples of the Global South. For teleSUR English, I am Estefanía Bravo. Thank you for watching.
Un gusto saludarles. Yo soy Patricia Villegas Marín, soy la presidenta de teleSUR. Estoy desde las oficinas de nuestra multiestatal en la sede de Caracas. Desde aquí dirigimos la operación para toda América Latina, para el sur global. Nuestros contenidos en inglés están llegando a distintos usuarios en el mundo y hoy celebramos junto a ustedes que estén tomando nuestra señal para los usuarios de Namibia, de NBC. Realmente afianzar la relación entre la madre África y su hija América del Sur es extraordinario. Es uno de los grandes logros de este sur global, de esta estrategia de comunicación entre los pueblos del sur. Estamos seguros que de aquí en más vamos a trabajar en conjunto, que nuestra cooperación va a crecer y que vamos realmente a poder entregarle a los televidentes de Namibia una visión real, verdadera, desde el movimiento popular organizado latinoamericano de lo que está pasando en esta parte del mundo. Les envío mi abrazo amigo y mi convicción y mi fuerza de que seguiremos trabajando para mejorar estos niveles de cooperación.